Welcome everybody to Meet Your Master of D&D. I'm here with Patrick, who how long how long have you been a dungeon master, should I say?
I've been a dungeon master for about 4 years.
About 4 years. Is that like off and on, or are you like just straight like?
About 90% of my D&D gaming now is being a dungeon master.
Okay, cool. Um, what system do you play in?
I play in 5e, or that's what I dungeon master as.
hmm Um, have you played any other systems or just five? Well, it's 4 years, so you probably played in 4E.
I never played 4e. I did play 3.5 and Pathfinder though.
Okay, so you just like fourth was just a weird thing. I think that people were like, well, let's make it more like a hack and slash kind of game for people, and then
Yeah,
they're
that's what
like,
I've heard.
yeah. So this I think five is basically a combination of 3.5 and 4, which allows you to do a little bit more like role play aspect compared to just run and slash, kick, punch, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, what do you like better for your games? Letting your players roll their character creation, or do you do the point buy system?
I generally let the players pick, but I prefer the point buy just because it adds more depth and flavor to the characters. Because if they get a really low roll and a really high roll, that can help flesh out their characters so much better than just the point buy does.
Okay, yeah, actually, I like the roll better than the point buy. I can never get the roll, or I can never get the point buy system where it made your character the characters at a good level where you can just throw anything at them.
Yeah,
But I screwed my personally myself, which I said in the last episode, is I made the worst decision by doing 4d4, keep the top, or roll 64, keep the top four. Can't go above 20. But a lot of them got like all ones, so it helped out. But at the same time, it bit me in the ass later on.
yeah. One of the ones that I've tried out, which it sort of works and sort of doesn't, is just a straight 5d4. And it it gets some good numbers, but it's also really unstable for a method.
Well, actually, that yeah, because your lowest would be a 5 and your
Yeah,
highest would be a 20. So yeah, I mean that's well, I would say if you do the 5d4, it'd be best to do if you get all ones, you re-roll two of those ones. That way, you're not stuck at a very low stat. But again, a lot of low stats can actually make the characters like personality. So if you have an intelligence of 6, you could play that off as well. Best person I've ever seen do that was Critical Role. Travis, he actually plays Grog, who is level 6 barbarian, or level 6 intelligent of 6, and he plays it really well. As just you can't read, you can't do anything really that heavy, but you're able to understand what's going on. Mainly
yeah,
just kill.
yeah.
Um, what's your take on homebrew versus the core books, like the starter and all that stuff?
Um, so I think that the core books for the rules and stuff is that's my preferred. But when it comes to like the module books, homebrew is phenomenally so much better because the modules just kind of get stale, and they don't have as much room to grow with the characters.
So, do you say in your campaigns are they mostly homebrew, or are they like a mixture of both, or?
It's mostly homebrew for story, and then for any character stuff, I'll let any homebrew that they want to try out, but have to run it by, make sure that it's not over or underpowered or anything like that.
Okay, well that's again, it's a good the mixtures of those are probably the community alone for homebrew is incredible.
Yeah, it's insane.
Okay. Um, what got you into being well, one into D&D, Pathfinder, all those stuff, and then what got you actually into being the dungeon master?
So I started out with D&D. One of my coworkers way back just decided to start running a game and sounded like something that could be fun. And then I ended up moving to California for a couple of years, and I joined a game at a game shop, but it was running one of the modules, and everyone at my table, we wanted uh, a more in-depth game and stuff like that, and none of us had ever DM'd before, so it was just I volunteered since no one else knew how to do it either.
Oh, that's cool. So would you say you were like, as soon as it started, you were hooked?
Oh yeah, instantly from session one. I was hooked as a player. Session one as a DM, I was hooked on DMing.
Cool. We already did this one. How long have you been playing? Were there any other styles of role play that you played that other than D&D in Pathfinder, I'd say?
No other tabletop role playing, but I've been playing RPG video games since I can remember.
All right, that's always, I guess, like core for a lot of D&D players are the ability to do a lot of these freehand instead of having you're set to a certain parameter with actual. I'm losing my mind today. Actual like storyline, so you don't have to worry about the main quest. You can just go ahead and dick around for like an hour and a half. They come right back.
Yeah.
Which sucks when you're a DM because players like to do that.
Yeah. Usually with my games, because I do homebrew for any of the games that I run anymore, and I always have half a dozen side quests for that they could do in the area that they are for the level they are, because every group of players I've had, they just have this tendency to leave the plot that you had established and try to find something new.
Of course, that's what is it, the best advice a new DM can get is, if you make a story for your players, be ready to have it completely ruined by your players, because they will go the opposite direction.
Yes.
How do you so how many, like, I would say, how many games have you DM'd in the past 4 years?
I've done a total of 3 home games. One of them ran for about 2 or 3 years, and then I have 2 going right now. But then I've also ran about half a dozen modules for Adventure League.
For what? I'm sorry.
For Adventure League.
Oh, Adventure League, the D&D online thing.
It might have been online, but I worked with them in San Diego at one of the game shops and at conventions.
Okay. Oh, so you've been to I would say you've been to like a couple conventions for D&D.
Yep. I've DM'd at 2 conventions. Did CondorCon and San Diego Comic Con.
Oh, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
you were at so you actually have you been like on stage or like separately from everybody, or?
Yeah. At both of those, it was a side room at the convention. At Comic Con, it was one of the event rooms in the hotel.
Oh, cool.
And
No, that's kind of cool. So, so you kind of do this like as a passion, and kind of like, did you get? I guess, did you get invited to be the DM for these, or?
Sort of. So the game shop that I was playing at as a player at that time, they were the official Wizard of the Coast Adventure League in San Diego, and when it got close to some of the conventions, the normal DMs that they had running weren't going to be able to make it, and the person that was running the Adventure League at that store knew that I had started DMing for the table and asked me if I'd be willing to DM at those 2 conventions.
Oh, that's cool. So you got to was it San Diego Comic Con?
Yeah.
So you actually got into Comic Con really easily then.
Yep.
I hate you so much right now. That's really cool. Like I've wanted to go for a long time, and one day I will go, and hopefully maybe doing this, I can do something like that. But again, I got a 2-year-old and a wife, and more to come. So it's like this is more of a little side project right now, and hopefully this is what I want. I want to kind of do this more because there's a lot. This community is growing so big, and certain forums you see a lot of people. As soon as someone says, "What do you do about this player?" Everyone's just straight up just being that suicidal crazy DM who wants to just kill the player. Just kill him. Just kill him. Why? And
Yeah, the mentality of just kill the player, that has never made sense to me, because if first off, if it's something that the player has done and not the character, don't punish the character for it.
oh yeah,
But then if it is some stupid thing that does need some form of punishment, you don't outright kill him. You let the character learn from it and let the player learn from it, but you make it something detrimental.
yeah. So I think that's the one thing is a lot of people don't understand, and again, I watch Critical Role every week because I'm addicted to that show, and the way that Matt Mercer gets people inactive into the actual story, just it makes you want to become a better DM watching that, and then also meeting new DMs like you guys, you Jared, Nil or Nim, which I have to reschedule her because she's in a different time zone in a different day. She's actually in Australia. So, I mean, I got people all over. I got Australia, Canada, San Francisco, India. I mean, there's this community is huge, and just being able to talk to different people to figure out how they do everything and how they actually handle their players, on top of how they if there's any like not knowledge that you give someone to basically go, hey, this is for you to know, and we're going to basically help you along that little pathway.
Yeah, that's one thing in the Facebook groups, is it's just so great to see is um, how many DMs there are and all their different ways of going about handling this specific situation. If this wall crumbles down and the players are trying to get away from it, what would they do? And you get a dozen different answers, just completely different of how people would handle it, and it definitely makes DMing kind of easier because you get so many different points of view and you can learn how to better DM things.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think I've grown better as a DM, which I think my players we're actually gonna be taking a break here because I work third shift and my schedule is not matching up to play D&D at 11 o'clock in the afternoon when I would like to sleep and get my sleep schedule back in order. So unfortunately it's trying to find the time to play, and on top of that, work and have a family, and it's all fun.
Yeah,
it's an outlet. It's what it is.
yeah. My the group that I run at home, we had to take a month hiatus because one person was moving, other person had stuff going on with their job, and that's definitely the hardest part about DMing, is getting the scheduling down for all of these different people all at once.
Oh yeah, and once you do get that schedule down, it's really cool to see just the interactions with you and the DM and the players, and being able to just have fun with everything, which is definitely different. Plus, it is therapeutic. A lot of studies show that, so I'm really happy for that. So we'll move on to the next question. Are there any tips or any I would say, is there anything that you do as a DM, like any kind of like site or reference points that you pull through that would help new new dungeon masters and game masters start out from the main front? Like, what's your advice to a brand new person coming in playing D&D, or to DMing a session of D&D?
The biggest one is to have notes for yourself. Just general what this NPC, what their general demeanor is, what they want out of life, what they fear, stuff like that. Is just have little notes about everything, about the cities, about the NPCs, because your character, the players are going to ask about the most random things, and you're going to want some sort of reference for information to give them. And then the second biggest piece of advice would be to not get too bogged down in specific details, because your players are going to most likely skip past that a lot of times. So if you spend 3 hours just constructing one small piece, that's likely going to not be as big of a piece as you were intending. And it also leaves you more time to do more things with it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we started my game itself. It started out just basically this is the first time I played 5th edition. I used to be 3.5, so jumping into 5th, I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and make a bunch of random tables. Found a bunch online from D&D Wiki, and then DnD Wiki, which there are two. A lot of people don't realize that, and you can actually go to the wrong one a lot of time. There's D and then AND Wiki, and then there's D letter N D Wiki. They're two different sites, and you could literally go to the wrong one and be like, I thought I found something there, and it's not there. But you can find a lot of cool homebrew stuff and a lot of monster tables, and I even used Excel and made a bunch of different monster tables and all that fun stuff too.
Yeah, Excel is phenomenal for planning things, and I've recently found a new site called Home Brewery that lets you make your own tables and everything, and the style of it is set up like the player's handbook, like the monster manual. So when you do that stat block for that homebrew monster, it will look just like the monster manual stat blocks.
Really?
And yes, it is so useful.
So what's it called again? I'm going to put a link below of what it is, but what's the site?
It's Home Brewery.
Okay. Is it .com, .org?
I believe it's .com.
Okay. Well, we'll put it in the description, so people, if you guys want to check it out and start out, like, change up your stuff, that's probably the best way to go. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it's homebrewery.naturalcrit.com.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I have to order food for my for my brother and stuff are coming over, so they're making me order all the pizzas and stuff to make sure I got that done. Add to order, and then more food. Oh no. Bye. Fuck it. Ah! I do everything wrong sometimes. So when I'm gonna pull up these again. Okay, here we go. What are some of the creative ways to promote cooperative story and player narrative that you've used personally?
My favorite is just simply asking and having them describe specifically what their character does, what their character says, and instead of having the players do a general, I ask him about whatever, have them actually say what their character would be saying to the NPC, and just kind of get them into the feel of their character, and then be able to have the NPCs respond to what was actually said. And I've just noticed that having your players actually act out and talk as their characters gets the immersion up exponentially.
That's probably one of the best way to actually get your I would say when you do your creating your characters, do you make them kind of do the whole association to each other, or do you bring them in separately and make them bond through the story?
I'll let them choose. I always have them come up with a decent amount of backstory so that I can incorporate things about their character into the stories. And if there are 2 or 3 characters that the players wanted them to know each other prior to the campaign, definitely add that in. But if they don't have some prior knowledge of each other before the campaign, we'll always have something set up of how they meet each other, whether it's they all accepted the same bounty board thing, or the cliche they met in a tavern, or if or they were all imprisoned in a dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
But I let the players decide for themselves if their characters knew each other beforehand. I don't like imposing story elements on the characters.
Which that's always the best way. Let them decide and then bring them to hell, pretty much.
Yeah.
See what questions next. I'm actually going through this pretty fast. I'm actually kind of happy. See, that's why I messed up. So let's see. Next question. Of course, it jumped out of the whole application. How do you figure out what to pick for your guys to fight? Like the monsters that you put up against them, or the big bad villain that you make for the story? How do you determine that?
So with normal encounters, I'll spend about an hour or so for each session going through the DMG, finding what things could likely be in whatever type region they're in, going through the CR of it, and then going through the actual monsters, making sure that will be either not too underwhelming or too overwhelming of a fight. So that's just with normal encounters. With any type of bosses or anything, or big bads, I'll generally actually construct a form of NPC type player character.
Mm-hmm.
So making a evil paladin or something as a big bad, and actually having that character develop with them if they meet them multiple times or something like that. So anything that is plot is a big plot point, I like to construct completely.
Yeah, which that's actually a lot of cool. I think that's one of the hardest things, is trying to figure that out right off the bat, and then throwing everything out, especially with dungeons and stuff, because it's a free game mostly, I would say.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say that I've gotten better at constructing monsters and bosses and stuff like that, but it took me a couple years. When I first started trying to make my own ones, it was horrendous. And I would either make something way too powerful for what they'd be facing, or something that they'd go in and kill in one round. And so it's definitely difficult to get it down right, and no two parties will do the same with anything, and that adds in another layer of the difficulty.
Yeah, definitely. Players don't like to do the same thing, and it really annoys sometimes when you're trying to do something and they want to do something totally different. But that, again, that's what makes the difference between a good dungeon master and a great dungeon master, is being able to go with the flow of what your players are doing and give them more of a free range on just whatever.
Yeah. And that's one thing, especially in fights, but then also in non-combat situations, is as a DM you have to be able to on the fly change what's going on. Whether you made a fight way too hard and you have to scale back the enemy's HP or what abilities they have mid-fight, or if they're trying to persuade someone and they go off on a path that you had no preparation for, you have to be able to on the fly change up what you had planned to fit what the players are trying to do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hold on one sec. Okay, so this was actually a question from the one of the forums. It might actually might be your question. I'm not 100% sure. But what other hobbies, game interests, literature, music, and so on influence how you DM?
The biggest two for me personally is video games. So things like Skyrim and Fallout and Borderlands and Final Fantasy. Those are great resources for me for NPC ideas or quest ideas or things like that. And then the other one that I actually use a lot is anime, is characters and story hooks and stuff like that from anime. I like incorporating in for just an added level of epicness for the players, for the characters.
So just a quick little thing. What animes do you I would say top 3 animes that you would collate with your being to doing in your stories? Like, what's like the 3 that you always like pull from when you go ahead and do it?
So Dragon Ball Z for characters, Sword Art Online for just kind of general feel of things, and then third would probably be like Inuyasha.
Inuyasha. Yeah, all great animes and all great things for the storylines and all those things. Let's see. Is there anything that you feel that you couldn't do before that you can do now with the experience that you've gained from DMing at conventions and stuff like that?
I wouldn't say something I couldn't do, but just the creation of worlds and characters and stuff. I've been able to actually do a decent job at that now. Like just the skill level of it increases with experience. So I was able to do those things when I started, but I was bad at it.
Okay, so basically, as much as more that you practice at it, the better you got, I would say.
Yeah, the more side quests and the more story that you develop, the better you'll get at it. The more NPCs that you flesh out, the better you're going to get at making NPCs.
Which, yeah, that's one thing I've always worked on is trying to get better NPCs, and usually NPCs like villains and stuff. I let the player's backstory become those, so they have more of attachment to them.
Yeah.
Are there? How do you hold, like, when you have like a secret that you have to tell a player that you don't want the rest of the party to know? How do you go on doing that? Do you do like the whisper, walk over and whisper to them, or do you send them a note, or do you talk to them outside the room?
So I have 2 campaigns I'm running right now. One's a home game and one's on Roll20. And the in-person one, I actually have index cards that if there's a secret that one character knows that the rest of them don't, I'll write that out and give that to them. And same sort of thing online is just do a PM to that player so that they get all the information and you don't risk any of the other players overhearing something that they shouldn't know.
Okay. Now let's get on to this. Okay, so you said you do Roll20, which I personally haven't done. Same thing as I think it's called Fantasy Ground. With Roll20, how do you like it as a way of playing D&D online with people?
It's so useful. I love it so much. The people that I play with on Roll20 live in Georgia, so there's no possible way that we could do a home game. So it runs just as well as doing a home game. Does all the rolls for you. You get a character sheet that it automatically changes the totals. So if you put in a 16 for an ability, it'll automatically give it the +3. So it's super useful for that. The one thing that is really bad with is trying to make maps and stuff like that. It's just not as good as having a physical mat that you can draw it out on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was really kind of like, I like to have like little mats so I can draw it out and have that fun stuff. I do have to say this. I did enter a Kickstarter, which is, I'll leave a link for the Kickstarter on. It's called DungeonFog. It's a map building system that actually is simple to use and very user friendly from what they show so far. And they've already reached their 3rd goal, I think. So they have a couple more goals to do, and they get a bunch of stuff. But it's like $30 for the year, and you can do like the lifetime for like, I think it was $150 or something. But it's like you could get a lot of build your maps, rooms, everything, add furniture, and it's all based so you can use these fantasy grounds and Roll20 and actually have like all these other things built into it.
That sounds amazing. That's the one thing that I'm worst at is making maps. Like I can come up with a dungeon layout, but then trying to fill it with other objects other than the walls and the hallways and stuff like that. That's where I really struggle as a DM, is filling a world in the map.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the one. A lot of people think that you need all these figures and all this stuff to play D&D, which you really don't. You just need the basics of paper, pen, pad, friends, and the imagination to put yourself in that world. And usually it's up to the DM, if you don't have those ability to, or those other things to basically bring in the little stuff and make it bigger with the way you tell the story, or way you talk about the different things that are happening in the story, to kind of pull them toward you and pull them inside the actual campaign.
Yeah.
So with Roll20, do you is it like, because I've honestly I've never used it. I've wanted to, but I don't know. It's like the cost wasn't right where I wanted it. So there is a cost to it, isn't there?
They have a free version of it, but they do have 2 payment levels that give you more tools to use.
Okay. Which one? I would ask this. Which one do you use personally? Like.
I'm currently just using the free one because the campaign I'm running through there is just a kind of homebrewed run of Horde of the Dragon Queen.
Okay.
So I'm able to actually use the maps from that module, and so I don't have to. I don't need the extra tools for that, and that's what those extra tools help with most is creating the maps and stuff. And since I'm just running a module, I don't need those.
Now, for like the characters themselves, with Roll20, do you have the ability to use different tiers for stuff, or is it like classes, or are you able to use homebrew stuff, or how
Oh
does that
yeah.
work?
And I don't know how it is with editions other than 5e, but with the character sheets that are built in for 5e, it has all of the standard classes, and then it has an option in the character sheet to make your own class with its own hit dice and its own special things, and it'll just automatically add those into the character sheet. So, like if you're doing the Artificer UA, you can go in and you can do that as your custom class, have the saving throws for it and stuff like that, and it'll automatically throw that into your sheet.
Oh, that's cool. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out because the way we're running right now is I'm not gonna be able to do the way I want to do it. Now, are you able to do like webcams between people, or is it all voice chat, or you guys do it over Skype or stuff like that, or what?
We run the voice through Discord, but Roll20 does have video and audio built into it that you can use.
Are they? I would say, are they good or?
I've never used the video on it. The audio is about on par with Skype.
Okay. So again, we're using Zoom meeting to do this interview. This is actually, if I was to run those I'd probably end up just using this because you can do up to 6 people video on the paid version, 3 on the non-paid, but you can have up to like 200 attendees.
Yeah.
Like people can actually sit and watch it there and be inside the chat. So hopefully, if everyone enjoys this and I get enough likes and a lot of people saying, yeah, we want more of this. I'm working on a Patreon page right now to when certain people do like a certain donation a month or become a Patreon, we'll have I'll be setting certain days for like interviews or for the roundtable, and when we have those people who are part of the Patreon can actually come and watch and actually be a part of the actual show itself and not have to be on Twitch and all those other things because again Twitch is awesome, but you have so much to bog down and so many things to go wrong. But I think I can use this on Twitch too, so it's like right now it's kind of like a heads up kind of thing, just seeing how everything runs out. But hopefully if you guys want that, please leave in a comment like what you want to see and what if you want that. Again, I'm just starting out as my channel is just now growing, and this is I think a lot of people I've personally searched for this on YouTube looking for someone talking to other dungeon masters trying to figure out what's in how to make them tick, and you don't see that. It's all with how to be a great GM and tips for GMs and stuff like that, but you're not have multiple different people who aren't big YouTube people talking about their games and about them personally as a DM, because a lot of people it's best to know more information from everyone than just one person itself.
Yeah, like the Nerdarchy and Matt Mercer's GM tips, those are amazing resources.
Oh God, yes.
But the having the dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen different views on certain subjects is so useful as well because you get so many different viewpoints on how to handle certain things.
Yeah.
You can use all those ideas to kind of better figure out what would work with your group and your DMing style.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's what it is. Like right now, I have so many people just constantly sending me messages. Hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this. I mean, so far I've recorded this. This is the second episode, so this is of course the second one that is going to be airing. But I have 8 more next week, starting Sunday, I believe. I think actually I have one tomorrow, I think too. But no, I do not. I actually don't. I have all of them are all next week, but I have I have 10 people who so far have gotten back to me I've set up a date, a time, and are actually doing this. Like you, Patrick, you've actually taken the time out of your day to come on and talk about your DM skills and everything you've learned, and to try to bring out more influence to people who are too afraid to basically ask the questions that a lot of people want to. Because again, you go into forums and stuff like that, you get a lot of those people who will, if you ask, hey, so what do I do about this? And the first thing they say is, well, if your player and the DM are having an argument, DM is law. But to give over power to the DM, and to be a DM who wants absolute power, is, in my opinion, which this is just my personal opinion, is I don't think a DM should have all the power. Just because you can easily go from a DM who has a pure amount of power to just losing your players and end up actually having them not want to play because of that. Because you're being over aggressive and you're like, nope, can't do that. Can't do that. Nope. Nope, you're going this way.
Yeah. So in my mind, the DM is definitely the arbiter of the rules. So the interpreting how something's done or how successfully it's done, that is one thing that does fall to the DM. But I always go to this with Matt Mercer, his tip of, you always let the player try. So even if it's something that shouldn't normally be possible, you always let them try. You don't just do that hard no, you can't do this, or that hard this is how it happens regardless of what you were intending or planning. You always want to give your players that shot.
Now, as of that, can you give an example that you've actually had that situation when your games where you're like, yeah, go ahead, try?
So one that just pops right into my head,
which is always good when you get the laugh before that. You're like, yeah, okay, no, this is a good one.
Had a player who was playing a barbarian, and they were up in this castle on the ramparts, and a dragon was attacking, and the dragon had swooped down near the ground, so it was about 80 feet below. The barbarian wanted to tie a rope around his waist, and then the other end around a ballista bolt. And then what he attempted was to jump off of the rampart, jump onto the dragon, and loop the rope around one of the dragon's wings to attach himself to the dragon. Thinking, okay, this is going to result in the death of this barbarian. You can try to jump on this dragon. And of course, how these stories always go, he rolled a nat 20, got onto the dragon.
So he basically tied rope around him into a ballista bolt and jumped on it, or did he shoot the ballista bolt?
He jumped.
Okay, so he just stabbed into it and just like...
He didn't stab it. He tied the ballista bolt in a knot around the wing joint.
Oh God! See,
so he was tied to the dragon.
Oh, that's awesome. See, the only thing I've had to do so far is, I gave. It was within the first I think it was the second session. The dwarf who had Shocking Grasp as an Eldritch Knight decided he was going to. His teammate, who was another dwarf, got tongued by a lizard or by a frog, and I grappled him with the tongue, so the tongue was sticking out. He went ahead and grabbed the tongue, thinking this would be a great idea to do Shocking Grasp on the tongue, electrocuting the dwarf and the frog. which was the funniest thing I've ever seen because he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and do shocking grasp, and he pretty much almost killed his team, which was great. It's always good to see that when you don't have personally as a DM, if you don't have to kill your players and you can just watch them kill themselves and their team, usually the best way of doing it in my mind.
I totally agree. There was actually the last or 2 sessions ago with the group that I run on Roll20. They have a wizard in their group who, in the heat of the battle, didn't think about what he was doing and dropped a fireball right on top of what they were fighting. His whole party was right next to it as well, and he took out the enemy, but he almost TPK'd their own party, and it was great. It was hilarious, and it was one of the best moments of that session.
That's awesome. See, the same thing happened with the same character, same two guys. The difference is the other dwarf is an event. I made him an inventor. I actually have a whole stats and everything. I took it off D&D Wiki, added in the gunslinger and all this stuff. Well, he pulled I would say like a fire the thing that makes a fire beetle, the essence of it.
Yeah.
He rolled a nat 20 on dissecting it, and I gave him the actual like the gland, and then he put the gland inside 2 vials, some little vials. And during a fight where his friends were getting destroyed, he's halfway across the map, about 30 feet off, and he has the ability to improvise weapon with anything at advantage, which I think is broken in my mind, but I screw it. He threw the vial at the back of the wall that they were against, and I basically made it like a 4th level fireball, and it had a 30-foot range. Well, the whole team was in that 30-foot range, except for him. So he threw it, it shattered, fire erupted, everyone had to make a saving throw, and I think 2 made it and 2 didn't, or 1 made it, the other 2 didn't, plus the creature that I was fighting was a boss. He didn't make it, so he took like 60 something damage, and the other 2 took it. They went down. The other one took half of that, 30. He went almost down. And it was just like complete utter just chaos shit. And it was just amazingly awesome. Like he almost just destroyed his team, and they don't let him live it down either. They keep on telling him about it.
That's the best part is when one player does something that in any way negatively affects anyone else. That character never is never let go. Is at any time they are in a new fight or something that even vaguely resembles that, the rest of the party just jumps on it and gives them a hard time for it.
Oh, definitely. It's. I think it's probably the best way of watching it, because it's just kind of funny to watch them just squirm for a little bit, and it's so good. So I think that's we're time limit wise. I mean, we're a little past than what I wanted it to be at, but I got stuff I got to cut out. But because there was nothing happening and I had to go do something real quick. But last thing, is there anything that any advice you give out to someone being a new DM, like just like a beacon of like not a beacon of inspiration, but like something that you would think that every DM starting out should at least know?
The biggest one is to not have the mindset that it is you versus the players, because you're not trying to beat the players, you're trying to help them, and they're trying to help you construct a story. So if you go in with the mindset that you're versing the players, it's not going to be as fun of a time for you or for them.
Which is always good advice to look at. So do you have a Twitter or anything, or?
No. I'm lame.
No, dude, it's fine. I mean, that's a lot. It's just in case, like, but you are on, I believe, the Facebook DMGM only. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay, so you're on that. Are you on the 5th edition one as well?
Yep.
Dungeon & Dragon 5th edition.
Yep.
See, I'm on that one too. I'm on literally every single Dungeon Dragon forum for Facebook I am a part of, because I wanted to branch out to everyone, especially Dungeon Dragons DM. And that, I think it was just DM or DM Dungeon Dragon or something like that. But thank you, Patrick, for coming on and talking with me for a little bit, and hopefully we'll get you on again when I do the roundtable with Zoom. Which actually, quality wise, this is better than I thought it was, especially when I'm capturing HD.
Absolutely, I had a great time with this, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing the roundtable.
Yeah. Now, is there any which one? Thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the show today. Thank you, Patrick, for coming on and sharing your experience as a DM and what makes you tick as a dungeon master, and all the fun things that you're able to do with it on top of that. And do leave a like, and then let me know what makes you a good DM, or what do you like about a DM that makes you actually want to play D&D more with people. And then if you feel like you want to be on the show, just go ahead and send me a private message or tweet me at Dark Lord Fluffy, and I will get back to you with a time we get you on. And then Patrick, we'll see you hopefully next time within, I would say, I think sometime maybe next week I might be trying to do the roundtable, to record it. And then but I'm going to try to get with everybody, see what time would work best for everyone. And then I think the roundtable is just probably be the same, about an hour.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you again, man, for coming out, and you have yourself a good day, and